Thanks for joining us, folks. A real pleasure to have David Icke back with us. First time we had David on, probably 2002. And I'm not sure exactly where I would have ended up if I hadn't run into David. Just on a huge body of work over the years. And is finally getting vindication. David Icke, Was He Right? Was a documentary that came out about a year ago showing that all the things he talked about 10 years ago are all coming true. Vindication. His latest book is The David Icke Guide to Global Conspiracy. The latest DVD, David Icke, Beyond the Cutting Edge, and he will be performing here in the United States, maybe for the last time in a long time, in Phoenix, Arizona at the Orpheum Theater this Saturday. Starts at about 10 o'clock in the morning and then just goes all day, and I am going to that. I hope to see everybody there. David, again, just great to have you with us today. There's never enough time because I just want to let you talk for about a half hour every time I ask a question, but we're stuck into this radio format.
I know.
We got to just really slam this stuff out for people, and hopefully if one person out there wakes up and joins us, then we've done our job.
Right.
I got an interesting clip I want to play for you. It takes about a minute, and it's on the issue of vaccinations. I had the opportunity to interview Oliver North. I have not played this clip in 6 years, David, and I have it for you today. This is his response to, how they deal with the troops in the Middle East who don't want to take their anthrax vaccine. Here it is. Front line. So
no doubt about it.
Did you yourself take an anthrax vaccine?
Of course I did. Absolutely. In fact, there's a very humorous scene in the book right there. As we're getting ready to go, where all the reporters who were being embedded were brought into this big briefing, and an Army medical officer, a colonel, who's giving the briefing, is explaining to him why the advantages of the shot, and he's giving them the whole medical history of the inoculations, both for that and smallpox. And none of the reporters. He then made the terrible mistake of saying to this room full of reporters, "Are there any questions?" Well, that's like asking sheep if they want to eat, and putting them in a field of grass. And so they fired at the guy for about a half an hour about Gulf War syndrome and people dying from the thing, and said, "Look, you don't have to take it. If you're going to take it, you have to sign this release, which is a release of liability, and you have to pay $109. These guys were all bad-mouthing it. He said, "Look, if you're not going to get it, just go on, proceed through those doors in the back of the auditorium." We were over at the Hilton Hotel in Kuwait City, and go on outside and draw your chemical weapons, protective equipment, the suit and the gas mask and the atropine injectors and all that. He said, "But on the way out, you may want to just look at these pictures." And he puts up on the screen as a PowerPoint. They pop up in the screen, they fade out, and pop up. The death throes of various people dying from anthrax and smallpox. You would not be surprised at the sudden hush that came over the room and the very quiet, "Oh, my God," as people are looking at this. And then, of course, everybody went and grabbed the forms and got their shots.
Right. Well, that obviously scared. There you go, David. I mean, that's exactly what they need now, isn't it? To show people dying on TV, these horrible deaths from the swine flu or something, and then they'll all go running to take their shots. I thought that was very revealing, and I wanted to share that with you. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's a real encapsulation of the whole way the system works. And, thanks to people who've put this information out over the years, and particularly the fantastic amount of work that's gone into getting this information about the so-called swine flu vaccination out through the Internet, it's made a tremendous difference. We're getting polls in Britain now where 50% of doctors are saying they're not going to have it. And 10 years ago, even 5, this would have been a cakewalk for them, but it's not, because people are starting to get informed, and it's one of the great, kind of supporting evidence that people are beginning to wake up and see the world in a different way. Now, these guys know that. They know they're not going to get the numbers as they would normally do on the story that they played out so far. For instance, I had an email the other day from a friend of mine in India who was kind of panicking because his mother had got swine flu. Should she take Tamiflu? Should I let her do that? And I said, "Well, it's bloody useless, mate. Never mind what it does to you. It's useless. Doesn't work." I said, "Our immune system will sort it out." And 3 days later, I got another email saying, "Oh, she's up and fine," and she hadn't taken anything, and she'd been diagnosed with the swine flu. So people look at this and they say, "Hold on a second, I'm back at work in 3 days. What do I need a vaccine for?" And then, of course, there's all the information that's coming out about what's in the vaccine and all the rest of it. and they will, maybe increasing the strength of the virus, whatever, because they have a big challenge to meet here.
Yeah.
And the way that Oliver North was describing the way they manipulated the military there, that's absolutely what we're going to face. But we have to keep the backbone stiff and not succumb to all this manipulated garbage.
Well, we found
what
out
people
later,
are doing
David,
now in refusing it in large numbers. We need to hold that line.
We found out later in a book
the consequences are enormous if we don't.
We found out later in a book called Vaccine A by Gary Matsumoto, who is not easy to find anymore. He's a mainstream reporter, that those anthrax vaccines, how they worked, how you needed the boosters, how most of the guys never were able to get their boosters, and how they were full of squalene and that was killing people. That interview of Oliver North, which I'll be uploading this week for the first time, is just full of things like that. In fact, I have another clip where he explains why it was cool to have Red Dragon and 666 painted on the tanks as they invaded Iraq, and you would be, I'm sure, not shocked to hear his answer there as he again just justifies all of this stuff. But, I think barring, and this is why I got out and I predicted that they're not going to be able to force us to take these vaccines because the first responders will refuse, that most people will refuse, that unless and barring, these watching people die, these horrible deaths on our 800 channels of programming on our TV sets, that people aren't going to go for it. This seems like a colossal fail, David, that they failed in this program.
Well, they certainly failed so far, and this is a very important not just subject, but a very vital time. We've been going along exposing this conspiracy, and the conspiracy has been going along unfolding. And the two have not really engaged between public and people exposing this and the unfolding conspiracy. This swine flu vaccination program is a point where the two are engaging, because we now have the opportunity, and it's being taken clearly at the moment by large numbers of people, to draw a line in the sand and say here and no further, because we're going to be have everything thrown at us in the next few years, very few years. They want this vaccination program because they want to attack the human immune system, because they want to control the population. I absolutely have no doubt there's nanotechnology, microchips in there. In fact, some evidence is already coming out about that from various sources. And I was told by a CIA scientist in 1997 in California that in the secret bases, he said at that time, in the secret projects, there were microchips so small that they could be inserted in a vaccination program in a hypodermic needle, and that's what was planned. And, of course, what we now call, what he was talking about, it's in the public arena, we call it nanotechnology. So we are going to have that thrown at us, and we're starting to meet that, but they also want a massive economic crash.